regular game season, and that isn't going over well with some players. Dany Green gave his thoughts on the Ringers NBA show, saying this, quote, "Most guys, if we start in December, are like, I'm not going to be there. It's not like we have a bunch of young guys and rookies. Bron has been in the finals 10 years out of his 17 years. To have that quick of a restart, I wouldn't expect him to be there. I wouldn't expect to see him for the first month of the season." Okay, Stephen A., so when should the NBA season start?
Ideally for me, I would prefer after the new year, because to start right before the holidays, after the year that we have had, certainly you can understand where the players are coming from in terms of not wanting to start December 22nd. That would mean 3 days removed from Christmas. Obviously, some of you have road games. You're going to be away from your family. And even though this is something that's really traditional, because you're usually playing, the season usually starts max in late October and what have you, the bottom line is because of the coronavirus pandemic and the sacrifices at least 22 teams were called upon to make for this summer and what have you, to then turn around after the season ended in October and to ask them to come and start right before Christmas, that is a tough ask. But let me say the flip side to all of this. First of all, Dany Green, let's understand, you did have 4 months off. Let's put that in its proper perspective. There were 4 months that you had off. That's number one. Number two, this isn't just about the NBA. This is about the networks. According to the proposal, according to my sources, Max is going to be a 70, and I'm sure Brian Windhorst and Woj and all of them reported this. It's going to be a 72-game season, not 82 games.
They want that local TV money.
They want that local TV money. It would start December 22nd. And the reason that they're doing it is because we, meaning ESPN, TNT, ABC, we suffered tremendously as a network because of the NFL games. You don't want to go into the NFL season. And the reason why you want to start before Christmas is because you don't want to interfere with the Olympics either. So the combination of the Olympics, the combination of the NFL season is incentive enough to say, okay, let's start this December 22nd. Now the players, Dany Green, I hope you're listening, you can get what you want. You can start the games in in January. You know what that condition is? Forfeit $600 million. That's what I'm told. If you want to sit up there and start almost a month later, you costing yourself $600 million. Because with all the other money that's already been lost, with a new collective bargaining agreement certainly to be negotiated, now you're talking about the specter of losing out on an additional $600 million if you want to start after the new year.
Because you're going to lose games.
That's right.
Why, though? Because can't you make them back up after? If you don't do it.
They're saying no because of what I just told you. They don't want to touch in the Olympics, and they don't want to touch into the NFL preseason.
It's not ideal for the networks.
You're going to lose money.
Here's the thing. Yes. The pandemic hasn't been ideal for anyone.
Right.
So there have to be compromises made all over the place. And you know who's made the biggest compromises? The NBA players. And I know that basketball, in a way, is easier to organize than baseball or football in that way because there aren't so many participants, right? So you can put it in a bubble. And also, they were almost done with their season. So they got to get all the local TV revenue by doing this extra 7 or 8 games, then going in the bubble, crown a champion, the whole thing, 0 positive tests. It's like a great success story. That took compromise everywhere, especially for the players. I understand why NBA players would be like, hold on. We just finished a grueling season where we were separated from our families for months at a time, right? And put in a bubble. The other leagues weren't willing to do that. We did that and crowned the champion and showed everyone how it was done, the whole thing. And now you want us to turn around 6 weeks later and start the new season? It's tough. But you know what? It's the cost of doing business. It still beats digging ditches for a living. And it's the cost of doing business. Stephen A., Molly, we work on Thanksgiving on this show. We work on Christmas. We work on New Year's this year. We're going to work on all those days, right?
I don't know about me, but
that's the cost of doing.
I don't know about me.
Well, listen, Dany Green.
I don't know about me. I'm going to take a New Year's Eve off.
That's the cost of doing business, in success. And they're going to have to, the players, I think, it is in their best interest, not only of the league, but also of the players, to do something that's going to be a little extra uncomfortable this year. I get why they wouldn't want to do it, but if, in fact, that network TV money is on the line, I understand the argument for them to do it, and I would, it's up to them, but it would seem to me that everyone's going to have to compromise.
Let me say this. I'm not going to just talk about the sacrifice the players made. everybody's made a sacrifice. The networks have made sacrifices. The league has made sacrifices. The commissioner, Chris Paul, the president of the Players Association, Michelle Robbins, executive director of the Players Association, the coaches who weren't even allowed. When the players were allowed to bring family members and stuff like that, the coaches were the last to the party to be granted those perks, per se, which is what Coach Malone in Denver complained about. So there's been sacrifices on everybody's part. At the end of the day, Max, you're absolutely right. Fellas, this is about business. Stop acting like you don't know NBA players. You know good and damn well what's going on here. The league is trying to make sure it doesn't lose even more money. The networks themselves are trying to make sure they don't lose even more money. And you, as a result, which is why you agreed to come back and play after the pandemic, was to ensure that you don't lose even more money. That is what this comes down to.
Would you blame LeBron if he didn't want to play the first month like Dany Green says?
I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't blame LeBron either. But LeBron, let's understand LeBron's a special circumstance. Because LeBron is constantly, that burden is constantly thrusted upon his shoulders. He's in his 17th year. Yeah. He's been to 10 NBA Finals. He doesn't miss games usually. I mean, he does a lot.
You're missing one other piece, though, that we haven't mentioned at all. They're at the forefront of this social justice movement. They're at the forefront now of voter registration in urban communities. They have a lot on their shoulders, these NBA players, beyond what any other sports league has right now. In addition to just being in a bubble in Disney World.
Can I give you my answer to that?
Yeah.
So what? So what? Let me put the camera on me, take away those damn highlights. I'm going to say it again. So what? You can walk and chew gum at the same time. Just because you're going to play basketball games, just because you got to travel to do your job in which you get paid for, does not strip you of the ability to have a conscience, be socially conscientious, and to engage in whatever activities that you need to do.
And there's another level. Go ahead.
Let me address that first.
I know there's levels to it.
There's a lot on NBA players' plates.
Right?
No kidding.
A lot. And I can understand if they're emotionally and mentally exhausted. When I say that's the cost of doing business, they are in leadership positions. They took those positions actively. They get credit for that from many, including we here on this show. A lot of working people have to do all kinds of uncomfortable things. Forget about just people on the front lines during the pandemic. And while they are athletes and we think of them differently and they don't have to, work with a jackhammer or whatever, things are sometimes tougher than other times. And this is one of those times, including for NBA players, I think.
I think the other piece that I was just going to say, too, is if potentially we're going to have the second wave of coronavirus and where they would potentially play this game, see what's going to happen if we are going to have a spike, and protect the players. And I think there's more of an appetite after the new year because we're going to be in the thick of it with NFL heading towards the playoffs.
Here's my response. No one should be telling them to shut up and dribble or shut up and play. I'm not doing that. I'm saying do it all. These are tough times, and you have to do more than you are accustomed to doing. You have to do more. The challenges that you're going to face are not going to be ordinary. A matter of fact, they're going to be extraordinary. One of the things we talked about when LeBron James and the Lakers won the championship, we talked about whether we actually had a discussion, Max, as to whether or not this might be his greatest title ever, because the obstacles in which he had to overcome en route to that championship may have been some of the greatest ever. We understand so many of us, millions upon millions of people, have to face challenges now that they never had to face before. All I'm saying is accept that.
Well,
I'll say one
thing about that. You and I are discussing what we think they should do.
Right.
But I would say, to Molly's point about the NBA players and how they were able to pull this off, the level of cooperation and sacrifice, all those things, including leading on social justice, just because I think they should do it, I do think that they have, of course it's up to them what they do, but from just kind of a moral position, they have earned the right to say, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. Even if we're leaving, we want to wait a little bit.
That's fine. No disagreement. But then you have to acknowledge, as a grown-up, that a business has a right to say, we totally respect your decision, but we're not paying you.
Or the same.
I'm paying you the same. We have a right to do that.
So is this December deadline, is this really going to happen, the restart?
I think it is. I think it's very, very real that it's going to happen, because you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars being lost if it doesn't happen.
Baseball players did this already. They wanted 82 games. They couldn't figure out, nope, we're going to unilaterally say 60 games and prorate the salaries. And the players lost the money, but that was their choice. And the NBA players, if anyone, has a right to have the fans with them if they make a choice to postpone this NBA. But the
problem is the players, and I'm not saying most of the players, all of them. You do have a few that talk as if we shouldn't have to work, but we should still get paid. That's not practical. In any business, we have to understand. I understand, Molly. I'm sitting here doing First Take with you and Max. We #1 in the mornings. Well, guess what? If I don't show up, I don't expect to get paid. I don't expect to sit there, oh, I'm not going to show up because
NBA champion once again.
Jeff Zilgit.
LeBron, 3 seasons ago, after you beat Toronto, you told Cleveland.com that you didn't have anything left to prove, or you asked what you had left to prove. And I wanted to know if that's changed over the past 3 years. Did you feel you had something to prove, and why is this one so important for you?
I think, personally, thinking I had something to prove fuels me and fueled me over these last year and a half since my injury. It fueled me because no matter what I've done in my career to this point, there's still a little rumblings of doubt or, comparing me to, the history of the game and has he done this, has he done that? Having that in my head, having it in my mind, saying to myself, why not still have something to prove? I think it fuels me.
All right, Dave McMenamin.
LeBron, all the circumstances surrounding this one, being in Orlando, having 4.5-month hiatus, away from family, everything going on in the country, how does that add context to this fourth ring versus the other three?
I think they're all special in their own right. They all have their obstacles, things that went on throughout the course of the year, both on and off the floor. But one is not less than the other. Because when you're able to put yourself in this position to be able to win a championship, the first thing you start to think about is how much work you've put in over the course of the year. How much you've sacrificed, how much you dedicated to the game and to your craft. That's always been the most fulfilling thing for me, besides seeing my teammates as happy as they are, is being able to know that you could put the work in, literally trust the process, live up the process, and then see the results. And I think not only from a basketball player, but from everybody, whatever craft, whatever work space you're in, to be able to put the work in and live along the process and build along the process and then be able to see the results, I think we all live for that moment.
Okay, we're gonna go Michael.
Okay. It's gonna be everybody tonight.
LeBron, could you sense that with the mental wear of the bubble that it was getting to other teams? And in the last few days, was there kind of a weird feeling of we're reaching, not just possibly winning a championship, but reaching the end of this journey? Like, did that feel different even than the other title runs?
To answer your first question, with so much going on inside the bubble and everything, and us, going into unknown, it's kind of hard for me personally. And once I got inside here, saying, okay, this is my mission. I want to win a championship since I'm here. It was hard for me to kind of focus on other teams and what other players were feeling. I didn't engage in that. I didn't look for it. I wanted to keep my energy in the right space. And over the last couple of days, you definitely thought about it. You thought about just being here, how successful it is. And I commend Adam Silver and the NBA, and Michelle Robert, Chris Paul over at the NBPA, and so many people that had it to make this happen, to make this work. And I think we all can say, from the social injustice conversations, the voter suppression, police brutality, have this platform and have our players be able to unite like that, it's something that you will miss. You will think back on it. And I think one of the biggest things, not only besides the social injustice and all the things I mentioned, we had 0 positive tests. We had 0 positive tests for as long as we were here. 90-some days, 95 days maybe myself. I had a little calendar I was checking off. Like, no, but on a serious note, no positive tests. That's a success for everybody that was involved.
Okay, copy.
LeBron, what about this partnership that you have with Anthony makes it particularly special to you?
I can't really explain it. There's just certain things you just know. In any type of relationship, you kind of just feel, you just know that vibe. You have that respect. You have that drive, and sometimes you can't explain what links you with somebody, and then it's that organic. And sometimes you don't even try to explain. Sometimes you guys ask me about my relationship with AD. The first thing I think about is respect, the no ego, the challenging each other, and we want each other to be better than actually ourselves. Like, I want AD to be better than me. AD want me to be better with him every single night, every single day, and we challenge ourselves, and I think a part of it.
Alrighty, Dan.
Hey, LeBron.
Don't make me laugh. You finally got one.
I got one. With about 3 minutes left, you looked over and you saw Anthony sitting there, probably the realization of what you guys accomplished hitting for the first time. I'm wondering, how much of that remind you of 2012 for you, and what did that first title do for your career, and what can this do for AD moving forward?
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of it. Just the excitement, I can't believe this. I definitely saw myself 27 LeBron, 27 Anthony, 27 AD. I definitely saw myself in that. And what it did for me in my career, it basically let me know that the work that I put in on my craft, and the way I played the game, how I was taught to play the game when I first picked up a basketball at 8 years old, it's okay to play that way and be able to win. No matter how many people tell you, okay, you should maybe shoot more, you should maybe do this more, you should maybe be like him more. It let me know that the way I play basketball, the way I was taught basketball is the right way to play it, because you do see results. And then it just continued to boost your confidence. I'm not saying that Anthony, AD doesn't already have confidence, but it takes it to another level.
Sam Amick.
Brian, you talk about how you can't focus on other teams and their bubble experience, but for you, outside looking in, it seemed like you were locked in from the beginning of the entire journey to now. But I mean, I got to imagine you had your days off the court when it comes to the personal sacrifice, when it comes to keeping this group together. Is that the case where ups and downs? And as far as this celebration, I know it's different, but y'all are having fun. How different is just the championship feeling?
To answer your first question, absolutely. I think you wouldn't be human if you didn't have ups and downs in the bubble. Times I was questioning myself, should be here. Is this worth sacrificing my family? So many things. I've never been without my family this long. And missing days of my daughter being in kindergarten, even though it's through Zoom. It's their first year of kindergarten. Missing my son's 16th birthday, which we all know is a big birthday if you have kids. And seeing my middle child continue to grow and be who he is. And first of all, big time shout out to the late great Steve Jobs. Because without him, throughout this journey, without his vision, those FaceTime calls would be impossible. So absolutely, I've had ups and downs throughout this whole journey. But for some odd reason, I was able to get the main thing. And all the stuff that I talked about that I missed, they understood that too. So it made it a lot easier for me. To answer your second question, it don't matter where it is. If you win a championship, bubble, Miami, Golden State, it doesn't matter. When you get to this point, it's one of the greatest feelings in the world for a basketball player to be able to win at the highest level.